You've probably heard the saying that form follows function, meaning that a space's design should reflect its intended use. But in the context of church facilities, design is more than just function. It's about how those spaces can facilitate ministry, create an atmosphere of connection, and support the church's mission in the short and long term. When we think about church design, it is easy to focus on the aesthetics, the colors, the lighting, and the furniture, but it's also much more than that. The layout, the flow of space, and how people move through the building can all profoundly impact how well the church can carry out its mission. In short, the physical environment plays a vital role in the ministry's success. Think about the spaces in your church that are most actively used: the sanctuary where worship happens, the fellowship hall and lobby where the community is built, or the classrooms where people are discipled. When these spaces are well designed, they naturally support the ministry being carried out within them. A building's flow can encourage people to connect with one another, gather in groups, and feel like they belong. For example, a welcoming entrance invites guests in and immediately sets the tone for what they will experience. Open spaces encourage interaction and collaboration, while intimate areas allow focused teaching and prayer. Adding easy to understand wayfinding in either spaces makes navigating the building easy and accessible. This can facilitate a welcoming feeling throughout the rest of the facility, ensuring no one feels lost or disconnected. How does this apply to your specific situation? Simply put, thoughtful facility design makes it easier to fulfill the mission. When your spaces are designed with purpose and intention, they help people connect with God and one another. They help foster community, make it easier to welcome new guests, and create an atmosphere where ministry can thrive. Good design isn't about following the latest trends or having a fancy aesthetic. It's about creating spaces that serve the people and the ministry, allowing for your church to carry out its work more effectively. Whether you're designing a worship space that encourages spiritual engagement or a community space that fosters connection and participation, every decision you make about design can impact the experience and everyone who walks through your doors. Fortunately, you get more than our thoughts on the topic. Now we get the opportunity to hear from Jenny Howe, the Worship Experience Director at Church of the Resurrection, who will share how intentional design can elevate your church's ability to serve its mission. She will help us all understand further the key principles behind thoughtful design and how these design decisions can enhance ministry efforts, creating spaces that are functional, welcoming, and empowering. One of the best sayings I've ever heard about church facility design, and it's really about church design as a whole, was by Winston Churchill, where he once said, "We shape our buildings, and thereafter our buildings shape us." And so very often we end up with doing church the way our buildings tell us to do church, which is why it is so critically important that we are intentional with the design of our church facilities.
Of the time, what you find out is that more of us have the same needs than our needs are really that divergent. We may use spaces in different ways and at different times of the week, but everybody needs to be able to find a restroom, right? Everybody needs to have accessible seating so that there's space for all. More of those needs, as we survey them, really align far more than you might think. It's got to be comfortable, right? If it's not comfortable, people aren't going to want to be in the space. The other thing that really, for a spiritual experience, for a worship experience, and an encounter where we want people to feel the presence of God, feel Christ in that space, it has to be distraction free. And so anything that we can do to limit distractions for people is going to help them stay engaged and focused in, whether it's a ministry. For my team, it would be worship. But how can we reduce those distractions, whether that's a door that is open and light is coming in during a very quiet, somber part of the service, whether that's noise from another space, those kinds of things. So preparing the space to be distraction free, but also preparing our volunteers and our staff to anticipate that distractions will happen, how to respond to them, and to be equipped to respond to them.
Designing a church facility isn't just about creating a building. It's about creating a tool for ministry. Taking the time and effort to ensure the design aligns with your mission impacts how people experience the church. It can become a complementary partner in how members and guests experience communion with the church and ultimately with God.